I remember a time, because I'm Toronto's oldest living man, when red carpets were about journalism and not vertical images on TikTok, vertical videos, and who got to eat cake.
Richard, one thing about me is I'm a fan of cake.
So this week, we're going to be talking about influencers on the red carpet and how it's disrupting the entertainment industry.
Let's get into it.
Before we start and before we get into influencers on the red carpet and all that good stuff, we have to acknowledge that last week's show was spectacular in terms of the amount of people that tuned in. And to all of you, thank you very much. Tell your friends and come back and visit us more often. We loved it.
Yeah, we have to thank the Army for that, the BTS Army.
Yeah.
I love fan culture, and it's actually really cool that for an episode talking about fan culture and dedication, they turned out, and not only were they giving BTS love, but they were giving us some love too, which we really appreciate. And one thing we have been corrected on, and I want to say this right now, I have been made aware that to join BTS Army, there is no age limit, okay? There is no age minimum, there is no age maximum, okay? I heard from lots of older Army members, and that actually, it moved me a lot. So
I believe that we actually heard from an octogenarian Army member, and I love that. I love that so much.
it reminds us that we're here to talk about the things that matter, these art forms that really, they stay with us. It doesn't matter what age, they don't stop being important. And so this week, we're talking about, okay, the Oscars, right? We're going to dip in a little bit of that. Obviously, you watched, Richard. What did you think of the show?
I thought Conan was great. I thought that the show, as always, is too long. I was happy enough with the winners. I didn't win my Oscar poll this year because my wife and I decided for some reason we were going to the same place, the same party to watch the show. And we thought, we'll split the difference. And we voted on different stuff, and I went against my instincts and ended up not doing as well as I would have liked.
Okay, so here, and we're getting into it. There were also some other production notes that I saw people making about the greater show, but because we feel that has been talked about a lot, there was something particular that we thought we might touch on, and that was actually pre-Oscars, and that would be the red carpet show. And there were some conversations sparked from the Oscars red carpet this year in terms of who belongs on the red carpet.
Yeah, and so a lot of this came from an article in Variety, and it's been picked up by a number of other places. I'm looking here at a headline that says, here's why influencer Jake Shane is facing criticism for his red carpet hosting gig at the Vanity Fair Oscars party. So the Vanity Fair Oscar party, big deal after the Oscars. And as I think this year, if I'm not mistaken, Emma Stone showed up and was said, I'm sorry, you're not on the list. And even someone who was nominated wasn't on the list. This is how exclusive this party is. And so people going into this party were being interviewed by this guy, Jake Shane, who is a TikTok influencer, and it didn't go really well. And I know we may disagree a little bit about the effectiveness of what he did on the red carpet, but in the Variety article, they suggested that the old editor of Vanity Fair, a guy called Grayson, and he would struggle and fine-tune every headline, every word, everything that was part of that magazine was filtered through him, and he was very particular about how the magazine was presented. Now there is a new editor, and the essentially the line that caught my attention from that article in Variety was the new editor could not have expected what was going to happen on the red carpet if he had some of that spirit of the old guard Vanity Fair and how careful and particular they were about every single aspect of how their magazine was represented, whether it was at this Oscars party or in print or online, that probably Jake Shane might not have been the best choice.
Okay, so that was a nice headline too you read, because the actual Variety headline is Jake Shane's questions at Vanity Fair Oscar party prove influencers shouldn't be red carpet reporters. So that's pretty harsh, and it's pretty like generally sweeping. So my original position was going to be like, even if this guy did a bad job, how could you then say that all about all influencers? Right. Because there's also another red carpet moment that everybody is talking about where let me just look, news reporter, I just wanted to confirm the outlet, was talking about Chase Infinity's hair and said something about them being undone. And they're clearly not undone. They're clearly like a very meticulous hairstyle. Mm-hmm. She's a Black woman, obviously, so that has like an extra element of kind of not knowledgeable ignorance about that. And that is eTalk. That's a legacy outlet. So I don't see that mishap being leveled against all other outlets. And here's the thing, too. I went back and watched the clip. I'm going to go even harder for this guy. What did this guy do wrong? People are saying he was uninformed. So the moment I think that most people are talking about is he's talking to Julia Fox. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're talking about, if I had legs, I would kick you. And I honestly think the crux of this whole thing comes down to the power of this film and how good it is and how actually it should have been nominated for an Oscar. Because the thing with this film is, we've talked about it on here before, it's a comedy. Okay.
It's a panic attack disguised as a comedy, but yeah, I'll give you that.
So it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's about a mother struggling with caring for her child. Okay. And so Jake Shane says to Julia Fox, isn't this kid so annoying? Richard, how would you answer that question? Was the kid annoying or was it not annoying?
I would say the kid was part of the story, and the way that the kid is portrayed is part of what pushes Rose Byrne's character towards the extremes that she takes in the film.
Because the kid is
the
annoying and is done on purpose. Right. I would love to hear Mary Bronstein's, the creator of the film's, opinion on this clip, because I think Julia Fox is a mother. So the point is, for some people, it's going to be more uncomfortable for them to come out and say, yes, this child is annoying. That's the whole point of the movie, is that motherhood is a hellscape. Okay. And it's not, and that actually, because of Jake Shane's comment there, it actually created this really thoughtful moment from Julia Fox in which she explains the movie really perfectly. And it's like from this really authentic kind of off the cuff place about how society sets mothers up. It's not the kid that's annoying. That's how it comes across in the movie for a particular effect. Imagine being a mom and you're hearing all day long. This is true. I've seen actual TikToks about it. This happens in real life too. And it is annoying. I think the part of the movie is that we should allow mothers to say that it's annoying. And it's easier for someone like Jake Shane, who's like a young person with no children, to say that. And I actually think the filmmaker wouldn't be hating on this person so much.
I think that there was a certain kind of inelegance to the way that his, like I'm talking about eloquence and I can't get the sentence out, but there was a certain way that he asked the question and then asked it again to other people that I found a little bit off-putting. Maybe out of some kind of train wreck, you can learn something, you can find something, but I thought that it was unprofessional. And I know that influencers and TikTokers are becoming more and more part of and disrupting simultaneously mainstream media. You see them everywhere now at events, whether it's a restaurant opening. We were at a restaurant opening not long ago, and everyone had their cameras out and were taking pictures and was making videos at this party. And I thought, oh, this is all, there isn't one television camera here. It's all people who are TikTokers and YouTubers and et cetera, et cetera. And so they're integrated into what used to be legacy media. And I get that. I just think that the way that he approached asking this question didn't have much behind it. He's lucky I think he got lucky and got an answer from Julia Fox. And the actual quote is, it's not that it's the mother's fault or the child's fault, it's society's fault. It sets up mothers to fail. Even the fact that school gets out at 3, but most jobs are done at 5 or 6, all those little things are not conducive to mothering. And she goes on. And it's a great answer, but that was pure luck that he asked that person a messy, sloppy box question and got an answer from it that actually we can talk about and dissect further.
Okay, so watch If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. I think if you're listening to this conversation, you have opinions. Watch the movie, too. But
The movie's great.
And let's go back and really think about how it used to be done then. Because this is what is really interesting in this conversation, is just how much this has all shifted. And since you've been around for, I don't want to say forever, but you've been around for a while.
I am the oldest living man. I've been around for a long time. I've been around when there were so few outlets that red carpets in town had 6 people on them. 6 outlets, because that was everybody. That was the entirety of the media. And that has changed now.
And it used to be like even more of an experience. Okay, so I keep thinking of this movie, America's Sweethearts. Remember that movie?
Yeah, Julia Roberts, John Cusack.
And the whole thing is about this kind of press junket. And these journalists are like going out into the desert. There's limos, there's multiple days, there's lunches. Richard, I have not experienced anything like this. I don't think people experience this anymore. I've been to red carpets. I've been to events. They'll do premieres. They'll do Q&As. Sometimes you'll get to meet people from the show. Paramount does a great job with Star Trek. And they'll have some of the cast members even just like mingling at the after party. They do cool activations, but nothing like this old school like junket world.
So if you want to know what a press junket is, anytime you see an interview with an actor sitting in front of a movie poster talking about their movie, that's a press junket. And generally speaking, the ones I used to do were in New York, they were in Los Angeles or London. Those were the 3 most likely places you would go to do these things. And you are flown in by the studio. You are shown the movie, generally speaking. If you're going to New York, you'll see it that night. And the next morning, you'll do 8 or 9 interviews of people sitting in front of these posters. And there's a lot of press. There might be 30 or more people from the press that are there to do these interviews. So what you get is some poor actor who sits in a chair as this rotating crew of reporters comes through, all of whom are asking pretty much the same questions. And you do that 30 or 40 times in a day, and then you call it a shift, and that's your promotion for the film. So that's what a press junket is, and I've done a lot of these. They can get sticky sometimes if you don't like the movie, and often the problem with them is that I would fly into another city, see the movie, and then realize, oh no, this is not good. This is not a good movie. And I'm going to give it an honest review, but then tomorrow I have to sit and talk to the actors about it. And so was always a bit awkward, but part of the job.
Can you just give me a couple? I want to know, is there a junket that sticks out to you as like the most extravagant ever?
Oh, there's been a bunch of them. I mean, there was for one of the Da Vinci Code movies, and it tells you how much I like the movies, and I don't remember which one, but it was one of them that was sent to Rome to interview Ron Howard and Tom Hanks and everybody else. And we were there for a few days. We saw the movie there. So you fly in, you get put up at a hotel, you see the film. And then over the next few days, we had various things that we were going to be given as like photo opportunities. So we were shooting interviews on top of the building that overlooked the Vatican. We were given a private tour of the Vatican, so we didn't have to stand in lines and all that kind of thing. So there was a time when those kind of junkets would happen and the money taps were just absolutely turned on. I never did the ones where you would jump from country to country. There have been a number of those that I used to hear about, but certainly I flew back and forth to Los Angeles and to New York and to London pretty regularly for a long time to do interviews. And there was always something. You used to get like a little junket gift, which was something that was related to the movie on the way out. And one of the best ways to get off that junket list, which is what happened to me, is being a film critic and not liking the movie. So you go do the interviews, you see the movie. And I remember sitting in the theater sometimes going, oh no, I'm going to do the interviews. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm sitting in a theater they've rented to show me this movie, and it sucks. And I'm going to have to say it sucks. And so but you have to be honest about it.
And that could be a little bit of what's happening in this new world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're there during these kind of junkets, who are you there with and what other outlets are there? And there's like virtually no one like who you would think of an influencer now, right? Like no independent freelance.
No, that would be pretty rare. I remember back to this Da Vinci Code junket, and the person next to me, frequently when you have these junket interviews, people like Tom Hanks would start at one end of the building and just work his way down from outlet to outlet to outlet. But in this case, we have to be on top of the building, and we were outside, so we could hear the buzz of what was happening with these other outlets. And the person next to me was Mary Hart from E.T. And so we're trying to shoot things, but Mary Hart was old school, man. She was amazing at her job, but she talked really loud, like so loud that we couldn't use the audio on our end. And we were a good 10 or 15 feet away from her. It wasn't like we were snug up against her. It was very loud, but that's who was there. It was the ETs of the world and that kind of thing.
Richard, I'm having a little bit of a moment here because I'm realizing that is most likely me on the red carpet.
There's all kinds of tricks that people used to do on the red carpet. Now, full disclosure, and I told you guys yesterday as we were talking about this a little bit, is that I haven't done a red carpet in a very long time. And the last time I did a red carpet, my guest, the person I was there for, was Elizabeth Taylor. So that tells you how long ago it was. We're talking decades now. And she was great. And when I introduced myself, she said, I once knew a man named Richard who I loved very much. And I was like, that's all I need. But we ended up getting the conversation anyway. It was great. But
she was flirting with you.
Sure. I can no, but I will say yes, because it's a better story.
You could have been the sixth.
But so I haven't done one of these for a long time. But there are things that used to happen. Often on these red carpets, you'd be crammed in so tightly that people would do things like speak very loudly and to ruin the audio of the next person over. Or if you had you would often have seen them often in political scrums, but also if it's a big movie star on a red carpet, they'll stop in front of one outlet and then you see microphones from two other outlets come in and try and pick up the audio from it to see if they can use it. And I knew of an outlet that had a fake microphone that they used to put in and they'd bang up against the other microphones so that the audio was virtually unusable, so that when they got an interview with crystal clear sound, they had almost an exclusive because they had ruined the audio on the other person's tape. And so that's the kind of cutthroat world that it used to be. Whether it is anymore or not, I cannot tell you. You do them. And as I said, like the last time I did one was at the Cannes Film Festival. There were a lot of people on that red carpet, but they also now have these Toronto International Film Festival red carpets that you do sometimes where you're like number 42, 43, 44 on the list. And that's a lot. That's a lot of people. And I'm guessing that the actors don't stop and talk to everybody along the way because they'd be there for 3 days if they did.
Okay, so I've done some red carpets, smaller ones for Paramount premieres, like I mentioned, Star Trek. When I found out that there was going to be a Frasier reboot premiere here in Toronto, I, Richard, tracked down the PR company on Instagram. I reached out to them and I said, there is no bigger craniac in Toronto than this girl right here. I will be there. I will be there with my sherry and my wit. If you please just let me see the premiere. And I was just asking to see the premiere. And they said, you know what? Let's put you on the carpet. And so I am a little bit Jake Shane here. I have to be full transparency. I may be defending this person because I see myself in this person.
Yep.
It got me a little bit of access to here and there things that I could bring valuable knowledge and credibility to. I have seen every single episode of Frasier a gazillion times. I know every joke, and I know the power of the show. There's no bigger fan than me. Same with Star Trek. I'm not going to put myself up there to the biggest Trekkies, but I'm a huge fan, right? And so I do think that's a huge part of like why we're going in this direction. But so I can't really say I've done anything. You know what? Actually, let me hold off here. TIFF red carpets, which I was lucky enough to do this past year in Toronto, are Oscar level. I feel like if anything is as close to the Oscars, it's TIFF red carpets. The Toronto International Film Festival is seen as one of, if not the best film festival in the world. Am I right, Richard?
Yeah, it's the second biggest festival of the world. It is the biggest festival that's open to the public. The Cannes Film Festival, for instance, is not open to the public. Here in Toronto, people can buy tickets and go see movies and see them introduced by the stars and have a look at the red carpet as they're walking into their seats. Or do what I did. I saw a movie and during this last festival, went to buy popcorn, and the people in front of me all talking. It was Judd Apatow, John Slattery from Mad Men, and somebody else equally as famous, whose name I can't remember right now. But I was like, wow, this is so cool. And they were just talking about how excited they were to be seeing a great movie and buying popcorn.
Literally, the city is alive. And like, there's the Calgary International Film Festival, the Vancouver International Film Festival. So you can get this vibe from other cities. But to me, like the number one reason I love Toronto is TIFF. If it was just TIFF alone, it's an incredible experience. So this year I put myself in the media accreditation because I had done so few red carpets, and I got approved with a group I work with called First on Film. They are incredible film review site and commentators. And so I went with them to TIFF red carpet coverage. And let me just set up a little bit how it works, because it's wild.
It is the law of the jungle now. Yeah.
Okay, so the night before the day of, they will send you a list, a scrollable list of all the red carpets that are going to be on that day. Because like we said, there's 5 theaters. They each have red carpets all throughout the day and then into the night. And then there's even Midnight Madness. So it's a lot of red carpets. And then what you do is you look through them and then you apply. And you send in your application for the next day, and you won't hear until you got that red carpet, sometimes not till an hour before the red carpet. I'm lucky. I'm a 15-minute subway ride from King Street. So I just wait, and then they give you word. You have to show up there, and now you're waiting there for 4 hours. And depending on the credibility of your outlet, you get a number on the carpet. Okay, so let me just give...
A low number is good, a high number, less good.
Okay, so to give you a little bit of an idea here, we're standing on the couture red carpet. That means I might get to talk to Angelina Jolie. Okay. So I'm patiently waiting, and I have done my research, okay? I'm really excited to ask her about the film. I have really thoughtful questions. I'm 47 out of 48, okay? So it's a long red carpet. I'm at the very end. And I am hearing some of these first outlets, and I don't know exactly which ones they were, but they're asking questions like, what are your favorite restaurants in Toronto?
Right.
Do you know what you're going to order first? Or do you look at the menu? Hun, these people are celebrities. They have private chefs. This is not... And these are not questions. And I'm telling you, coming from the number 1, number 2, number 3 spot sometimes. And so I'm waiting down there at 47, and I have to give out some shout outs. I met some incredible, who we would call influencers, but they consider themselves like film experts. And I would consider them too. So I met Jamie Rebinall from Cinema from the Spectrum. He's autistic, and he has other people with autism review films from their particular lens. He knew his stuff. I was on the Dust Bunny red carpet with him, and he had this moment with Brian Fuller that was just like incredible, giving props to him and his past work in the genre. I met some people from Popternative. I met Lindsay Evans, who recently moderated the Prime Scarpetta panel. I met the girls from Film Picnic, and they have the cutest logo. I have to show you, Richard, you'll love this. Look at
Oh,
that.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's
And
great.
they put a little, and there was a lot of creativity coming from our side. Now, listen, there was a guy who was like, I'm here because Jay Baruchel looks like me. I don't look like him. He looks like me. And that was his only question for the carpet.
And this is like part of it. So I've got a number of things here that I pulled in advance of this conversation. And someone named Queer Latifah on Twitter has posted this. And it's, this doesn't in and of itself matter much. And she's talking about the influencer Jake Shane. The Vanity Fair Oscar Party red carpet is not where many people turn for insights about the state of the world, but every little chip away at the standards of excellence is something that our culture cannot get back. And I think that says it a bit more eloquently than I tried to say it earlier in the podcast about how inelegant the asking of these questions was, and how all of a sudden, and I believe that he got lucky, that he got some thoughtful people to give real answers to those questions, but he got lucky. And I don't think that he was gearing towards asking questions that were geared towards getting thoughtful answers. I think it was more of a joke. It's a one joke thing. And for me, that's what I disagree with. That's what I don't want to see happen more and more. Entertainment journalists are more often than not out of work now. Websites are closing down. Magazines are closing down. There's very little paying work for a lot of these people. And to see people come in, I love people that are committed, people that love the movies and want to ask great questions about them. Absolutely. I like that. But when it just becomes about trying to shock someone into saying something goofy or quotable or memeable or that will go viral, that's to me where it becomes a little less comfortable.
I totally agree. And I think the thing is, we're seeing that on both sides of what you might want to call like legacy and influencers. And also it's which is guiding which, or is the legacy media trying
it
to
feels
say,
like they're trying to catch up with one another quite often, right? So that you've got the online culture, content creators who are more and more seeming to infiltrate what we would call legacy media. Instead of simply creating for online, they are writing books, they are appearing in movies, on television, they're whatever it is, like that they got their start one way, I got my start a different way. Either way, here we are. And that I don't have any problem with. It is when we have someone who is disruptive for the sake simply of being disruptive of something, that doesn't work for me. And I think that what we're seeing here is old media responding to new media and thinking, oh man, we have to be more like that because we'll get more views or we'll get more clicks or we'll get more whatever. And I think it does a disservice, frankly, to both of them. And the people that, to me, have always impressed me are people that are authentic. People, you have to be a fan of this to do it, because if you're not, why are you doing it? Often there's no great reward anymore for doing this. So you have to do it because you love the form and you are a fan and that. And so to see people who are theoretically, maybe possibly taking jobs away from people who are real fans, who take the time to formulate real questions and try and actually do something of merit and do something interesting that maybe goes beyond just getting a click, that annoys me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And so I'm most mad at, then the accountability is on the producer who picked that person over another person. And then also I think that there's lots of influencers that who now get lumped into this when they are doing the work. Amelia, the chicken shop date interviewer, Amelia de Moldenberg, she had some of the most thoughtful takes. And actually there's this clip, I love Blue Moon. I have talked about my love of Blue Moon and Ethan Hawke this year, the film Blue Moon.
Yep, Oscar-nominated film about Lorenz Hart. Go see it because it's great.
So good. And she has this moment. And here's the thing, like, I think I agree with you to a certain extent. And then I'm kind of like, I'm a disruptor. And I think actually it's important to change the way questions look and feel. And I don't think there is anything wrong with like bringing down these walls and maybe making it somewhat less serious. It makes it more accessible for people. And so Amelia has this kind of flirtatious vibe, right? Like she's like on a date. It's a
Like
chicken
with
shop.
Andrew Garfield in particular, I think they really have something that has become almost like legendary, the chemistry between the two of them.
Listen, I think she could have chemistry with a chicken wing. She is incredible. And that is part of her style. So if you said to her, tone that down because it comes off as not so serious, she wouldn't be getting this kind of like incredible moments. And so she had this moment with Ethan Hawke where she's, hello, Mr. Hawke.
Yeah.
And it's cute and like flirty and giddy. And then they end up talking about unrequited love. And Ethan Hawke gives this answer about whoever loves is the winner. The sun, the grass doesn't care if the sun, I can't even think of the quote. You gotta go look because it sounds better from Ethan Hawke than it does from me. But I think that's the flip side of this argument is that she's an influencer who has done incredible things and is opening up what it means to be a kind of like journalist.
You know, I know we sit on slightly different sides of this influencer on the red carpet situation, but I will also say about Jake Shane is that I don't think that it was really fair to put him in that situation. The Vanity Fair party, the most exclusive party in Hollywood, all that stuff. And then you put someone who has never really done this kind of work before in the middle of that. And he looked a little nervous to me, and maybe that has something to do with his performance. But it's a lot. Until you've done it, you don't really realize how much it is and how difficult it really is to do.
That's definitely part of it. As I'm telling my whole TIFF experience, I'm not conveying just how wild it is. You're waiting there for 4 hours, and then when the people actually come, you literally have maybe 30 seconds. You could tell that these people too, and I've experienced this with my work on Big Brother Canada because I'm so lucky. And so when you get an earpiece in and you have producers talking to you and you're also then trying to speak, it's like a nightmare. And so I totally agree with you. I don't think this kid should be getting any slack because he's there doing what he does. And someone told him, this is perfect for the red carpet. So I don't really know that you can even hold him to blame at all here.
Well, there have always been people who have had unique ways of asking questions. And I have my own style about doing it, which tends to be the very first media job I ever got fired from. I deserved to be fired from. I was a radio DJ and I was terrible at it. And it was at a place called CKBW. And the program director, a guy called Bob McLaren, called me into the office one day after I'd been there for a while. And he said, you got to quit with the trivia. Nobody cares about the trivia. I would say the Rolling Stones have had 10 number one hits and blah, blah, blah. Here's their next one. Blah, just trivia, data, facts, because that's what I was into. And I thought people would like it. It turns out Bob was right. And he told me something that has stayed with me forever. People want to hear about people. And so my interview style is all about the person. And sometimes it takes some rooting around to get people to actually talk a little bit. But I often talk about what's the first song you ever wrote? What was the first book that you read that made you think, oh, I might actually want to pursue being a writer, or that sparked an interest in that in you? And I love all that stuff. And that's how I approach it. It is one of, I don't know, there's as many styles as there are interviewers out there. But I don't mind jocularity. I don't mind people being less serious. I don't expect on the red carpet that tell me about the influence. I'm seeing a little bit of Kurosawa in the opening shots. Nobody's going to be doing that on the red carpet, and I don't expect that on the red carpet. But what I do expect is that we're going to have some kind of hopefully meaningful conversation in an interview like that. Otherwise, it can be fun to goof around a little bit, but I want to take something away. I think there should be some sticky content to what you're doing, rather than just getting, as they used to say in the old junket days, that said, oh, if you can walk out of the room after interviewing Tom Hanks or Denzel Washington or whatever megastar it might be, if you could get them to laugh and say your name, that's a successful interview, because that's the clip you're going to use.
Yeah, yeah. No, and you bring up really important points. I think at the end of the day, what we don't want to do is like a race to the bottom. And in a Canadian context, it becomes extra sticky, like you say, because with meta limitations and platform restrictions, almost the less serious you come across, the more traction and reach your clip is going to get, because of news organizations not being allowed to post, and almost this chasing of the algorithm, which Meta literally decides. Like, these platforms are deciding what is being shown or what is not being shown. So I do really appreciate and agree with your point of the most important thing here in all of this conversation is to preserve the standards of what we're seeing and what we're getting.
And it doesn't have to be deadly serious, and it doesn't have to be boring. I interviewed Miriam Margolyes recently, and she's so great. If you've seen her on the Graham Norton show, and she's a legendary British actress, and she said there was something that I just thought was wonderful. And again, it's fun. In the interview, we were having a lot of fun, but this made a lot of sense to me. I talked about doing research. She plays a nun in a movie called The Holy Days. I said, what kind of research did you do? And she said, I don't really do research because I'm playing a human. And because I am a human, 90% of the work is already done. And it's a great little joke. You dropped it in the middle of the thing. It's a good little clip. It'll go up online before the interview airs and all that sort of thing to hopefully get some traction. It came from, I guess, a sincere and slightly serious-ish place. But it was mostly, I just wanted to know about her process. I wanted to know about her and how she finds herself in characters. And then you end up getting a funny answer. And that's fine by me. That is fine by me, because it means something.
It does, and it has the heart. And at the end of the day, that's it. Whether you're coming from a major outlet with millions in viewership, or you're coming from a brand new YouTube or a brand new Instagram with 100 followers, it's about the story, connecting with your subject. And I saw George Strombo on a red carpet once, and I grew up watching this person, right? So I was a little nervous, and he came on the carpet and he made sure to hype me up. He made sure to give me a moment of his time. And because he was doing that with everybody on the carpet, people were asking him questions. And his point was, it's not actually about you, the interviewer. And it's not even about the person you're interviewing. It's about the audience. Yep. It's about what can we, because the audience isn't here and the audience doesn't get to be here. And it's about appreciating that this is a special moment, whether it's a press junket, whether it's a red carpet, whether it's just a moment with someone in the popcorn line, TIFF Lightbox during TIFF. It's about actually just taking that moment to break through and connect as a person. And let's just keep striving for that instead of the next viral clip.
So to wrap it all up, I think the more we turn these interviews into throwaway viral moments, the more people stop taking entertainment journalism seriously. And that's what concerns me. Thanks, listen, subscribe, do all that sort of thing. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.